Hello, my name is Sabine and I teach an introductory core course in a Masters of Professional Accounting. I wanted to introduce the facets of the RSD because we were introducing the AQF 9 requirements by the Australian government, and so we had to embed some research skills into our core courses. And the way I wanted to introduce it was to use this framework, the RSD framework, that would just give me a structure of how I could actually implement those research skills. I've got a lot of international students and I wanted to raise their awareness of the research skills that they were to expect in the course and throughout their degree. I wanted to incorporate the research skills development framework into my own teaching, so I started off by inviting John Willison to present the RSD for 150 master students. It was interesting to see the RSD framework being applied effectively in a group of this size. The students formed groups of 2 or 3 and discussed the credibility of an email claiming to be from the Australian Tax Office. Some groups then called out their answers to the whole class. John acted as a facilitator, compiling the students' evidence for and against and reflecting it back to them. Towards the end of the session, he was able to show how the decision-making process related to facets of the RSD. Then it was my turn. After attending John's session, I applied the same process to my own group of 20 students. So what we have here is an email from ato.gov.au. So what I would like you to do is to come up with 2 lists. One list, arguments for why we believe this email. On the other side, arguments against, is this email trustworthy? 3 minutes? Go. So, how many arguments for and against did you find? Yeah, Alicia.
16.
16. Very good.
Well, it's been sent to your personal email address.
Yeah.
It's got an official Australian Government Tax Office header.
Banner, yeah.
Was it sent too early? Some of the 30th of June, like 2 months too early to get an email from the ATO.
They don't specify Australian laws and any other documentation.
I asked the students to describe the process that they went through to make their decisions. So what did you actually do? You read the email, yeah? Okay, reading email. What else did you do? You brainstormed, exactly.
We discussed it with someone else to bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah. So
we got external input or...
So you discussed with your partner. So then what did you do after you discussed it with your partners?
Write it down.
You wrote it down, yeah? So you wrote down in 2 lists. You kind of categorized. So you write 2 lists comparing. 2 lists. First for pros, second for cons. So in the end, you kind of all had an assessment of whether you would trust the email or not. So you arrived at a conclusion and you evaluated pros and cons. So the way I've categorized them is really these 6 facets that we are trying to introduce to you. So the first one is embark and clarify. Yeah? So what you did, you asked for clarification because you didn't really know what I asked you to do. And then the second one is you find and generate, and that's reading the email. So you go to the sources that are provided to you, or you have to look for sources. And the next one was evaluate and reflect. So you used your existing knowledge and you reflected on what you've got here, and you reflected on your prior knowledge to make an assessment. The fourth step is organize and manage. So you then collected arguments for and against from the source. So you looked at the email and looked, okay, what of this email is trustworthy, what is not, and then you organized that data into these two lists. And then you analyzed and synthesized the data that you had. So you had your two tables, and in this case it was very sort of simple to make an assessment, right? You had much more arguments against the trustworthiness of this email, correct? So you could just go by sheer weight of evidence. And finally, you have communicated and applied your knowledge. So one, you have communicated it, you communicated in your group with your partner, but you also communicated your results to me. I think the students found the experience very engaging. I think it was a good way for them to get introduced into research skills, because they dealt with an issue that they were not too unfamiliar with, and they learned that many of the research skills they're already using. And we were then able to just make it more formal and introduce some new terminology. And that was, I think, very good for the students. What I really liked about this tax office exercise was that it was very easy to just take and teach in my course, especially because John offered to do it for the first time, so I could observe him in how he did it. But then it's very easy to apply it because the students' responses fit in straight into the framework. I think for the tutors it was also a rewarding exercise because they were also able to apply it very easily. And it's a very engaging exercise, both for the students and for the tutors, and it just simply works very well. We used the RSD exercise, or the tax office exercise, as a first step to introduce the research skills. What we have also done is we've taken a couple of other measures throughout the course to more firmly or deeply embed these research skills. So this included videos that I made with practitioners who talk about research skills in their everyday professional life. It also includes a reflective journal, which I think is very important, because to me it was really important that the students have this level of metacognition where they learn about their learning and they reflect on their learning. And then at the end, what I also try to implement as a next step is have an additional exercise that teaches them about their level of independence, that we expect them to become more independent learners. In the subsequent courses, we will use the RSD framework still to develop their level of independence, their depth of research skills. There will be the assessments will be developed against the RSD framework, which gives us an idea about the levels of depth we can expect from the students, or we want to expect from the students.